Deep within the shadowed peaks of Carthel lay an ancient terror that the world had long forgotten. The oldest of the mountain people spoke of it only in whispers, a being so colossal, so ancient, that it was said to be one of the first creatures to walk the earth. This was the Behemoth, a beast whose every step could make the world tremble, and whose breath could blot out the sun itself. For untold centuries, the Behemoth slept, buried beneath rock and soil, undisturbed by man or nature. Time passed, and its legend faded, but the earth never forgets. One fateful day, tremors began to rattle the village nestled at the foot of the mountains. The quakes started small, an occasional rumble that villagers dismissed as nothing more than nature shifting. But soon, they grew violent and unrelenting. The villagers were struck with fear as the ground beneath them shook with unnatural ferocity. They sent out scouting parties to investigate the source of the tremors, but none returned. Among those lost was Draven's brother, a brave hunter, fueled by a mix of determination and grief. Draven, a skilled hunter himself, set out with a small group to discover what was happening in the mountains. They ventured higher than anyone had gone before, through treacherous passes and frozen streams where the ice moaned underfoot. As they neared the summit, a sound unlike anything they had ever heard rumbled through the mountains, a low, guttural growl that sent chills down their spines. It was as if the mountain itself was breathing, and every instinct told them to turn back, but Draven pressed forward. Then they saw it. From a chasm that had opened in the side of the mountain, a gargantuan figure began to stir. It emerged slowly, its body a towering mass of scales and jagged rock, like the mountain had given birth to a living fortress. The Behemoth had awakened. It was a creature out of nightmares, its skin dark as iron, tusks long as tree trunks, and eyes glowing a fiery crimson. As it moved, the ground shook violently. A dense, foul-smelling fog poured from its mouth, blackening the sky and suffocating the land in darkness. Draven and his group could only stand frozen in terror, dwarfed by the sheer size of the beast. Its colossal head turned toward them, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. Then came the roar. The Behemoth's bellow was like the very earth splitting apart. The force of it sent avalanches cascading down the mountainsides. Draven's group scattered, but it was futile. The Behemoth was too fast, too massive. Its tail swung through the air with the force of a hurricane, smashing everything in its path. Draven dove just in time, but the others were not so fortunate. Bloodied and alone, Draven fled, his heart pounding. The Behemoth had been disturbed, and now it was enraged. This was no mere creature. It was a force of nature, and it would destroy everything in its wake. As Draven raced down the mountain, the ground behind him erupted. The Behemoth was tearing through the rock, descending toward the village below. Draven's thoughts raced. He knew the old stories, the ones that spoke not just of the Behemoth's power, but of a way to stop it, a relic, hidden deep in the mountain, created by the gods to bind the beast forever. But retrieving it would mean going back. Summoning every ounce of courage, Draven turned and began the treacherous climb back up the mountain. The Behemoth's roars echoed behind him, each one louder than the last. The air grew thinner, colder, the wind howling around him. Finally, he reached the entrance of the ancient temple, hidden beneath centuries of snow and ice. Inside, it was eerily silent. The walls of the temple were inscribed with glowing runes, pulsing with faint energy. At its center, on an altar carved from stone, rested the relic, a small, unassuming obsidian stone, etched with the same runes that lined the walls. As Draven approached, the stone began to hum with power. With the relic in hand, Draven descended the mountain once more, his heart racing. He could already see the smoke rising from the village below. The Behemoth had reached it, and the destruction was absolute. Homes lay in ruins, and the air was thick with ash. As Draven neared the beast, the relic in his hand began to glow, its power intensifying. The Behemoth, towering over the burning village, turned its gaze upon him. It knew. With a thunderous roar, the Behemoth charged toward him, its enormous claws tearing through the earth. Draven held the relic high, praying that the legends were true. In that moment, the relic blazed with light, brighter than the sun itself. The behemoth froze, its body convulsing as the energy engulfed it. The ground shook violently, and the sky above cracked with a deafening roar as the creature let out one final, earth-shattering cry. And then, silence. The behemoth's enormous form began to turn to stone, its body merging once more with the mountain from which it had emerged. The tremor ceased, and the sky slowly cleared, revealing the carnage below. Exhausted, Draven collapsed to his knees. The behemoth was defeated, but the cost was immense. The village was in ruins, and countless lives had been lost, but the beast was bound once more. As Draven stood and looked toward the mountains, a cold realization crept over him. The behemoth was not the only one of its kind. There were other forces of destruction buried deep beneath the earth, waiting to be awakened, and he wondered, with a shiver, when the next would rise.